What you're about to see is an edited down live stream of me creating a photo book using Canva for Amazon KDP, and I can confirm that it was approved for publication only 10 hours after I submitted it at the end of this live stream. The full length version was about 2.75 hours, so obviously not everyone is going to be able to watch that through, even though it keeps getting a lot of traffic, so I thought I'd make a shorter version so everyone can follow along and just hear the important bits. Basically the idea of using Amazon KDP is most people just publish normal books. Actually, that's not true. I would imagine most people publish these things called low content books, which is like notebooks or little diary journal type things or checklist to-do list type notebooks. And the idea of Amazon KDP is you can self-publish them, and you don't need to get approved, you don't need to meet up with someone and say, yes, I would like this many copies, and then if we sell them I get this percentage. You just put your book on it, and if Amazon approves it, then they will print it and ship it anytime someone makes an order, which is why it's called drop shipping. You don't ever actually interact with the product yourself. Obviously you get tester prints, but if you don't want to put any money up front into creating a book, then drop shipping is a good option, and Amazon KDP is how a lot of people drop ship. It's how I do it. I have 3 photo books on my Amazon KDP right now. I've only sold one of them. I think it's a bit of a cliche that like landscapey tourist books sell for coffee table books and, you know, dentist waiting rooms and the like, but it's true. People search locations for landscape photography for tourism stuff. So I have got a photographic tour of Dumfries and Galloway available on my Amazon KDP, which is my most popular one. I've sold a few copies of it. And then I also have a fishy photo book. I'm not surprised if I'm not the most popular fish photo book person. And then I recently published one which is Land Adventure Sports. I will get a link to it because it literally just got approved today. Let me actually share my screen here so you can see what it looks like. So you go into Amazon KDP. This is the bookshelf section where you can add a new book, make a new book. Oh god. And here's a list of all the books I have available. See, they've got live, and you'll have draft, in review, pending. You can make changes, but the changes also have to be approved, so if they don't approve the change, then I imagine they'll just keep the previous version online, which I've never not had a change approved, so I wouldn't know for sure. View on Amazon, and you can have it on every Amazon marketplace, but when you upload it, you choose a primary marketplace to determine the price, and then they'll just change it to other currencies. So this one just got published the other day. Has it got the look inside preview yet? No, it takes about 3 days of it being available online for it to start turning up in search results on Amazon. So, and then obviously like search engines like Google process it in their own time. They have no control over that. So the description I wrote for a photographic tour of Dumfries and Galloway photo book is a photo book containing over 100 unique images taken across Dumfries and Galloway, Scotland during the winter of 2021. Locations include, and then I listed off all the locations. Just a few of them is going to be Ockermore Beach, Luce Bay, and then St John's Castle, Stranraer, Glenluce Village over the River Luce. And a really cool one was the, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, the Cairn Holy Standing Stones in Newton Stewart. And then I think this is really important for a photo book specifically, is you want to have a cover that shows examples of the images inside. You want to have a couple of your best ones. I don't think you really need to be precious about protecting the best ones for like behind the paywall, because you want to entice people to buy a photo book. It's already a thing that people don't generally collect unless they're really into photography or really into the subject matter specifically. So just to like show what's unique about it. I love that I have some abstract like painting shots on there. I always try and incorporate my more abstract shots because, especially in the landscape, I'm not really a big landscape photographer. I love having people as physical subject matter. So that's what I try and include. If we look at the reports tab, you'll see that this is just from the last 30 days. Hadn't sold a book in the last 30 days. I did sell one like just over a month ago, so that has just come off. But normally this will fill up with stuff like if you've got multiple books that have made a sale, it'll tell you the ones that have earned the most. I believe that's in terms of revenue, not in terms of profit. So it depends how high you set your prices compared to the printing costs, because that's the actual amount you get for your royalty. One problem that I came up against like multiple times, I've made 3 of them so far and I've had this issue every single time, is you can look up the dimensions for an Amazon photo book and it will tell you the dimensions of the book when it is printed. and you think that's the size you want to make the dimensions of your file. And with a normal book, it is, because in a normal book you have Word content and you want it within the margin, and you're not going to worry about it bleeding over the sides and where it's going to get chopped off, because it's just going to be blank empty space. With a photo book, typically you want to fill the frame. Okay? No. Typically you want to fill the frame, but then if your file doesn't completely bleed over the edge of the dimensions of the book, where it will then get chopped off, then they will reject it because they believe that you're going to have just random blank space on the page that wasn't there intentionally. Didn't have as much of an issue with this with my first photo book. Here I have the physical copy of A Photographic Tour of Dumfries and Galloway. I think it's a really good book. I actually really like it. I should probably just put it in front of my face because that's where it's in focus right now and where it's lit. And you can see that it's a landscape book because it's landscape photography. Most of it is a landscape image. I thought it'd be really cool and put like collages. There you go. You can see like little mix and matches. You can actually see in the very first page where I amended it, because when I realized that I didn't account for the bleed of the book and you need to make the file bigger than the actual printed dimensions, all my little collages were misaligned. Some of them weren't centered. You can see a little bit in the spine that it doesn't print there, but that's like expected, so that's fine. But just underneath the bottom, you can see this blue padding I did. That was when I just gave up, and I was like, I don't know how far to make this. Like, because with a photo, the whole point of composition is you want to have certain places in the shot align with like the rule of thirds, for example, or the golden ratio. If you're a photographer, you'll know these terms, but if you Google it, you'll get really simple results. But like basically you want certain spots to be in the most appealing place where the eye line will naturally go to. If you make the photo too big within the page, then it'll get sliced off and you might mess up with your composition. But if you make it too small, then they'll reject it for having empty space. So I fixed that by just getting some random blue that I picked from a spot of the image and putting a little background on there. And I did do sort of custom dimensions of the book because I thought it would be like best at the time. This page specifically with like all the different, that's the wrong way, all the different examples of this same location with different light painting shots, I had to find creative ways to fit semi-duplicates in together without filling up the whole page, so I did like a big collage. But when it made me resize the file for the book itself, it meant that all the positioning of these carefully made collages got messed up. So in the future, for all my other photo books that I've done and what I'm making, I am going to just do this thing where you fill the whole page with a single picture. And you know, it gives the customer a bigger image. Like, they're buying a photo, but they want images to look at. Like, why are they squinting? If they want a tiny picture, they can just look on their phone. If they want to, like, experience art in a different format or whatever, then they get the book. And I realize now that part of the reason I was doing that is so like I could put landscape images in a portrait book, but then pure genius I am, you can just rotate the book like that if you want to look at it in landscape. Here's an example of where the bleed gets cut off. You can see like these images here. You can see that these light trails get cut off, and that's just for this copy. You don't know if that's going to happen for a different copy of the book. Maybe they chop it off in a different way, because I know that I actually accounted for the size of the images. And this wasn't the worst page ever. I didn't like, this is an abstract page, so it's not like completely ruined it, but it annoyed me a bit. So make sure that you account for your bleed and your cropping and everything like that. I feel like I've done my word of warning enough. I would love to say just stick to the recommended dimensions, but if you look up Amazon's recommended dimensions, it doesn't give you a comprehensive list of them, and then it doesn't tell you to account for the bleed. So I have started going for the 8 by 11 inches book dimension, I think, and it's still width, so you know, like, it's a landscape book still, so the 11 is going to be this dimension, and this is going to be the 8 for my other books. I haven't got physical copies of those right now. But as I have learned through trial and error and having to resize the 2 other books I have made, I just put on a margin of 0.5 inches on each side. If you get rejected, then Amazon will send you emails with notes on how to get approved, and it will literally tell you how much margin you need to add for your bleed if it does get rejected. So I think at one point it was like add 1.28 something inches, and then on the other one it was like add 0.5 inches. So I just added 5 inches to both of them. Not 5 inches, I added half an inch to both of them. So here's a file for the photo book I just made. You can see this one's going to be a portrait image, but it's going to be turned over in the book. This is actually a really good tutorial for people who don't want to buy Canva outright. Given my job, I can justify buying Canva Pro, but I don't want to make it an expense that I don't think I'm necessarily going to use every day, and I get by just fine with regular Canva for the vast majority of my needs. And I have an outside of this business job where they actually have Canva Pro. So one really good thing is if you know someone who has Canva Pro, then you can share the file with them and they can open it in their account. And the file doesn't get saved as one of their files. They just can do the project, like how people do Word project or something. And they can export your file and then send it right back to you. And they didn't have to actually own the project. You can just send it over and it's great. So if you have a friend who has Canva Pro, just use that feature. The reason you really need Canva Pro for photo books is not to build the book, but it's to export it in a print ready file. So color profiles and color spaces are basically how different devices view color. Like the human eye has a bigger spectrum of color for the most part, assuming you're not colorblind, than most devices. A phone screen, for example, doesn't have as wide a range of color profile as a laptop. So you will see skin tones on a laptop and then look at it on the phone and maybe they'll look more orange. And then different color profiles are more suitable for digital formats than they are for printed formats. So most screens are some sort of RGB function, like the colors are made up of red, green, blue. But if you have a printed file, like how you would do for a photo book, to make the colors appear the same way as they do on your device in the printed book, because you want colors to be accurate for photography, then you would have to export it in CMYK, which is cyan, magenta, yellow, and then K. What's K in CMYK? Key is black. Okay, that's fair. I get that. Black is actually made up of a combination of the other colours, but we'll ignore that for now. But yeah, so if you want something to appear the same way as it does on your screen than it does when it's printed, then you need to export in CMYK, which on Canva is restricted to a pro account feature. You need to remember though, it'll get really confusing later. I had some doubt when I was making my second book, but I worked it out. If you preview it on your screen, which Amazon KDP makes you do, then it will look really grey and desaturated on your laptop when you've actually prepared the file for printing. So don't be disturbed if everything looks really sad and depressing in your preview, because it's going to end up looking great when you actually print it. So I'm going to make a new file. I am going to go and start from scratch on Canva. Let's create a design, and we're going to do custom size dimensions. Here are my settings saved from the last time I did it. So we have 8.5 by not 11.5, 6.5. 11.5 is an alternate dimension that people use, but whatever. So 8.5 inches by 6.5 inches instead of 8 by 6, which will be the dimensions of the book itself. We're going to create a new design. Adventure, water, sports. I'll plug this into charge while we go, it's fine. You don't need to see my face for the most part. And then for my own memory, we're going to do 8.5 by 6.5 inches. The content of a photo book doesn't come easily. You have to shoot the photographs, and if it's going to be an interesting book, you need a variety of them. And I think Amazon KDP's page limit is 48 pages, because there's a certain thickness that you have to make the book reach to be able to actually physically bind it together, so you need to have a certain number of pages. Really, I should have padded out the pages on this one. There's a whole bunch of reasons that I went wrong with this one, but I still like it. But what you need to do is, if you have a wrong number of pages, like an odd number of pages, then you have to add a random white page or a random page of your chosen colour to be able to fill the book up to get the right printing style. But Amazon will prompt you on that when you do it. But Actually putting the content together, once you have all the photos, is a relatively quick process, especially if you're as obsessive about file management as me. I'm going to be waving my mouse around a lot here, and you're going to see my cursor moving, and it's because I'm picking and sorting through my files as I go. So I'm going to go through my files in chronological order. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to pick out ones that I think are really cute and would suit the water sports adventure vibe. So here's one from a wet room. The good thing about a photo book is you want as many photos as possible, so you don't have to be as discriminatory as you would with something like you're making a social media post and you need a banner image for it. Now the aspect ratios are going to get scrunched up a little bit because of the page sizing, but as long as the intent of the subject matter comes through, we can vibe with it. Now, sometimes I struggle with what's the better shot and what is the average person going to want to see. And if someone's buying a photo book about water sports, they probably want to see as much of the boat as possible. So instead of doing the shot that I think is a little bit better, we're going to do the shot that I think the customer wants, which is a little bit over-appealing to the market. Don't want to pander to people, but we still want to provide them with stuff that they care about. If we open this, it'll open another tab for my last photo book, which is the land sports counterpart for this. So we're going to copy the whole page, and then we're going to insert a new page, move it along here, and then just paste. There we go. Let's look at my competition for a start. Water sports photo book. Do I have competition? How many people do this sort of thing? Kayaking photo book. Picture of an exciting water sports for all fans. 4D high quality. Oh, not 4D, 40. I can read. 40 high quality and unique photos to decor. The grammar on that feels a bit sketchy, I must say, but you know, whatever. A surfing life photo book. 30 plus wonderful images for surfing lovers. Artistic swimming photo book. See, I've got a lot of variety. Scuba diving. Kayaking. Is it the same kayaking book? No, different kayaking book. Okay, so they all focus on like individual sport. A lot of kayaking. A lot of kayaking. And look, people, I don't mean to be shady, but I think a lot of these photos are boring. I can only go by the cover, which, okay, see, that's the back cover as well, which is why I say you should really get the pictures on there. Like, some of these are good. I don't mean to be scathing. Honestly, I really don't. It's just my opinion. But I just think a lot of photography in general is really boring. I think the colours are dull. I think they're too samey. I think like maybe it's really hyper realistic and true to the eye, but when I shoot photographs, I like to make them a bit more vibrant than the real world. I want to make them a bit more, I want to make them pop. I want to do stuff a little bit exaggerated, not beyond the realms of possibility. You can see some shots that are included in this photo book we've just made, like the water, like that's questionable depending on how bright the sky is that day, and it was not that blue that day, I'll tell you now. That water was more like grey. Whereas this similar shade of water, actually more realistic to what was going on at the time, although you can see I boosted the blues a little bit back here. This water, that was pretty realistic to the time. But then if you go to this one, the water was not that blue. It was not the colour. But isn't it gorgeous? So that's why I take artistic license with my photography. Like, I just want everything to be a little happier and a little brighter and, you know, make people feel better about things. Detach the images from this. This is a frame that you have, so it chooses like the shapes and you can put an image on and it'll make it to that shape using a masking tool of sorts. It's very automatic. There are more personalized ways to do this, but I found this to be the fastest for what I wanted to achieve. So since this is meant to be a bit of a tutorial, you'd go into these elements here and you'll go down and you see these things called frames and grids and different like structures. And the idea is when you see this cloud, a little green mound, that's when you can put your own image into it. So if you want to have something like more than typical cropping in an unusual shape, that's the sort of thing you want to do with Canva. Adventure Paddle Sports Photobook. It's not the most creative name ever. It's not groundbreaking, I admit that, but we're just going for SEO benefits here because, as we said at the beginning of this stream, this is for photographers who want to make passive income. Yeah, I feel like that really flows nicely. Let's compare to the land version. Did we stick anything at the back? I think we just stuck an extra page. There we go. So we copy this page. Copy. Add. Paste. And make the background image my brand color for this, which is just free. There we go. They will not check you for typos, by the way. Amazon KDP, they do not care about your typos. That is a you problem. You get it proofread, especially if you're doing like a book, like this is a photo book. If you're doing a written word book, get someone to proofread it. Someone who's not you. You are way too emotionally tied to it and you'll become blind to words over time. Get someone to proofread it. Good God, they will not spell check you. So this is not actually advisable, what I'm about to do, but I am going to move this photo book for a start. I'm going to get this coffee out of the way while it's safe. I'm going to get a second laptop out, which I'm afraid you won't be able to see because it is disconnected. It's not set up for the stream or anything, but I will talk you through my process as I go. I am logged in on a Canva Pro account on this laptop, and I cannot log it in on the laptop I'm streaming on because it would get too confusing, and also I need to be able to shift between two accounts anyway. So I'm going to go onto Canva, get this, I'm going to share. Anyone with the link can see. Copy the link, and then I'm going to hide my screen again while I go into my personal email account, and I'm going to email myself on this over address. And I'm going to paste the link and wait for that email to come through. Listen carefully, people, because you won't be able to see this on my screen. You'll have to use your ears. Now I am viewing this file as a guest. I'm going to click the share button in the upper right hand corner. I'm going to click download. Now, my file type, I really got to turn my head towards the mic here because I can't angle it to a different axis. So I'm going to get file type is going to be PDF print because we are printing. It is the best for printing. PDF print. Remember that, print. It automatically highlights all pages. We don't want all pages. We want all pages except the front cover because we've designed the front cover and the front cover gets imported separately. So there are two options when you go into Amazon KDP to upload your files. You have the manuscript file, which normally would be a bunch of words, but in our case it's a bunch of photos, so don't get confused. And then you have two options for the cover file. So you can either upload a cover, which should be to the exact dimensions they want, and accounting for bleed and margin leak and all that, so like we talked about earlier. And it should encompass the front, the back, the spine. And to account for the spine, you need to know how thick the book's going to be as well, so that is really hard. And then it will create that from the single file. I think when I made my first one, you had the option of uploading a front and a back cover, but I don't know, it didn't work out. Or you could do what I do, which is I make a picture for the front cover, and then you go onto the cover builder tool that they have, which you'll see in a minute, we'll go onto it, and you can copy an image onto the front, and then it gives you like a generated option you can play about with for the back cover, and it's a thing. Little glitchy, we'll say that, a little glitchy. Not sure if it's just with my device, but you can work with it, it functions for this purpose, but this is why you don't select the first page of the file, because the first page of the file is our cover. So select every other page and then click done on that. Color profile we talked about earlier. You want it to be in CMYK which in brackets it actually says which one's good for digital screens and which one's good for printing, so you're lucky on that one. Oh, you do want to flatten your PDF, by the way. Makes it easier. Basically it means it smushes everything together into a single thing. It's like not editable afterwards, which kind of, I don't think it protects from plagiarism or people messing with your stuff, but you know, makes it easier for all the other steps of the process later. I will show you. So here, this option here, PDF print, flatten your PDF, all the pages except the first one, and then put it on CMYK, which is best for professional printing. But you can't do that right now because we're using my other laptop for this with the Canva Pro account I have logged in on that. Save download settings in case it messes up, and download. Once it has finished downloading, I'm going to go onto WeTransfer.com so I can then email the link back to myself on the laptop that I'm streaming on, and then we can see the rest of the process there. How many pages did we end up with in the end? We ended up with 52 pages. Accounting for the cover and the extra pages for the text inside, I think that means we have 49 images. I really thought I'd break 100. I guess I technically could have got 100 pictures in, but there would have been a few duplicates and there would have been some stuff that, like, people don't want to see a lot of the same in slightly different fonts, let's say. So I think that's a healthy amount. It just means the book will be a little bit cheaper because I want to price it proportionately to both the work that it took to complete it and also proportionately to the actual product they'll receive. Like if someone gets a book with like the minimum number of pages, which I think that this actually might just barely scrape the minimum number of pages now I think about it. I have one book that's 49 pages and that was like just barely over the minimum. But we want people to feel like they're paying a reasonable price for the product they're receiving, even if it is passive income. You can't just do a money grab. And remember, if you make a product too expensive, less people will buy it, and you've not put up any money up front for this. It's pure margin for you. So you want to make sure that it's actually at an appealing price in your competitive market. I always make myself a little bit more expensive than all the other ones I see, but I would argue that the quality of my photography makes it worth it. That's obviously an opinion-based thing, but I think my shots are good. That's why I sell them. That's why people have bought them before. So, you know, if you're a good photographer, you can make money selling photos. Simple as that, really. I do get annoyed, I will admit, that most people call me a photographer when primarily I'm a videographer. Like, I'm a full-stack digital marketer at this point, but if people ask my main skill, I would say video. We want to do the same thing for just the cover, which is just the first one. So we saved our settings earlier, so we're going to download again. PDF print, flatten the PDF, select all the pages, unselect all the pages, then just select page 1, done, and download that one. And we're calling this one cover, so there's no confusion later. Now I've got my two files, I'm going to go into WeTransfer. I'm going to upload both the files from today, which hopefully don't exceed 2 gigabytes, so we're gonna have a bit of an issue. No, it's not even 0.1 gigabyte, so great. Get a link. It's gonna upload that. Oh no, it's a little over 0.1 gigabyte. It's 107.1 megabytes, which is, you know, not a lot of data at all, which is good. There is a file size limit on Amazon KDP, but I have never even got close to hitting it, and I can't remember it from memory. So if you are concerned about uploading a book of extreme length, make sure you check that out. I think it also has a maximum number of pages that it can physically print, but I think that depends on the size of the book that you choose, the dimensions of the book that you choose, the print paper you go with. We'll go through all this in the next stage in a minute, so you'll see what I'm talking about. But there are restrictions based on the choices you make, essentially. It's a choose your own adventure. So I've got my link, copy the link, reply to the email I sent myself before with the link, sending that. I'm going to set this laptop over here once it sends. We're going to create a new book. This is the fun part. I'm going to create a paperback book. It says hardcover's been in beta for like ever. One day I'll create a hardcover book, but you have to rejig all the files and stuff for it, so I've never felt compelled to yet. We're going to create a paperback. Especially because my books aren't thick enough. I feel like if the cover of the book is thicker than the actual contents of the book, then people are going to start feeling a little bit fobbed off, you know? The book title, we're going to go into our file and we're going to copy and paste that. Don't move it. Okay, copy and paste that. We should lock this. I'm going to lock it now. It's locked. There we go. And paste into the book title. Got no subtitle. Adventure Paddle Sports Photobook. It is part of a series. It's part of my Dib Dab Digital Photobook series. Existing series. My only series. It is main content of the series. Yes, confirm. Series update has been submitted. Well, the book's not published yet, so I should really wait till I publish the book, but whatever, fine. Let's see. Editions, first edition, doesn't matter. I always struggle with this because I'm not using my name. I'm using my brand name. And I don't know. It's something that makes me feel like I'm gonna get banned. Amazon KDP, do not mess around. You don't have multiple accounts. Just, if you get banned, just accept it, give up, because they do not like you making duplicate accounts. They don't like people. They've refused making accounts again, especially if you upload the same content. It will know if you're trying to republish the same book. For a start, ISBN numbers get attributed to things, and having a different ISBN number, I'm pretty sure there's some kind of legislation about that somewhere. Can't admit to being the most clued up on that one, but it's something like there's an account, there's a register of all the ISBNs. Oh yeah, is that on this? But no, not yet. If you attribute an ISBN to something through Amazon KDP, then you can only use that ISBN on Amazon KDP. If you've got an ISBN from somewhere else, then you can use that on Amazon KDP and use it for different distributors. So think about where you want to publish it. I know that I'm just doing this for passive income drop shipping. I don't want to have to think about this a lot. I'm not going to come back to this. It's not going to be my life work. I'm not setting it up in bookstores around the globe. I'm just putting some photos in a book for people to enjoy. Sit in the waiting room, have a flick through it maybe. Got a doctor's office, you want to distract people with some pretty pictures. Maybe it's actually at an adventure centre, so you offer some of the sports available and you want to get people psyched up while they're waiting for their session to start. Stuff like that. I'm not faffing about different ISBN numbers, just generate yourself. So Dib Dab Digital is the author. Contributor, I'm going to put my own name here actually. I've not done this part before, but how about we do that? Maybe that'll be a trend I do. I don't believe the little chunk I put here is going to be an appropriate description. I generally put the description as the blurb content as well. So this is where you want to start thinking about SEO content. So SEO, search engine optimization. It is how it's found on Google and Bing and all sort of stuff, but Amazon has its own on-platform search engine as well. So you want to think about what keywords people are going to be putting into their search bar where they'll be happy if your result gets pulled down as an option. You think those people will actually convert into buying customers. So you need to think about the sort of things your target audience is going to be searching for. So I'm thinking like people looking for gifts, people who are into adventure sports, people who are into paddleboarding, kayaking, but there was a lot of kayaking ones, so we don't want to focus too heavily on kayaking when we did our research because that's a highly competitive area. There was scuba diving, but we don't have scuba diving yet. So I think I will focus on the term paddle sports, water sports. Now, you gotta be careful not to do keyword stuffing for anything to do with SEO because then it'll just think like, oh, it's not very relevant. But for a product description like a photo book, you don't necessarily have to fill it out a huge amount to be able to actually get results. Like my bestseller is just like 1-2 sentences and then just a list of all the locations that we had. And some people do like to brush it up with AI, but personally, I just feel like anytime I've gone, I never just put a prompt in and say, go AI, make the thing, chat GPT, whatever. I always write my own draft first off my own mind and then I go, try and improve this, add this, make it sound like this. But it's just never really worked for photo book descriptions for me. I think like it doesn't feel right. I feel like it wouldn't be effective and it just puts a lot of rambling fluff into it. Sometimes I can't think straight and I actually use AI to do the fluff elements, pad out the words. I get the main content of it and then I go, think of the adjective to describe this, whatever. But honestly, I feel like I'm probably just going to write this from scratch. I think that will do. I'm going to save that. Publishing rights. Yes, I own all the necessary publishing rights. This is not a public domain work. What is a public domain work though? So it means it's available to all people in the public to use. So basically don't say something's a public domain work unless you want everyone to be able to use it. No, there are no sexually explicit images in the title, although am I going to get flagged for water sports now? I wonder. Optional reading age. It's a picture book. Anyone can use it. Anyone at all. Look, it's pretty. Primary Marketplace, UK. up to 3 categories that my book can be used in. So we got, I feel like we should have one focused on nature, one focused on sport, and one focused on photography, but I feel like that's not going to work out this way, so let's see what our options are. Well, there's photography. Conservation, restoration, contemporary art, I would say. Nope, no subcategory for me. What if I subcategory? There you go. Photography. Okay. Sports, definitely. Choose another. Keywords. Now, I'm going to do a little hack here, a personal hack. I'm going to go onto Chrome, and you will see here that I have a bunch of stock photos. And I've sold, not sold a new one today, but I've sold quite a few adventure sport stock photos. So I'm going to pick a relevant one of a lot of boats, maybe. Land. I'm going to find one. There we go. There's this paddle sport photo. I think I actually put that exact one in the book. So we are going to look at our keywords here. We're going to draw inspiration that people are actually searching for because it got sold, so we know that someone searched for it. 7 keywords. Now remember, a keyword, I have a whole video about this if you want to start looking at how to write an SEO blog post. There's a whole section on keywords. So a keyword doesn't necessarily mean one word. It just means a phrase that someone's going to be searching. So it could be a single word. That's called a short head keyword. There could be a whole sentence, really specific stuff. Like literally someone could write, I would like a photo book of water sports with sailing and boat equipment, please. And that's a long tail keyword. If someone actually searches that, then oh my god, genius. But I mean, it's going to happen. And then there's sort of a middle ground, just like 2 or 3 relevant words to make a sentence or a phrase or something. And that's called a body keyword. Publication date and release date are the same, yes. Release my book for sale now, although it won't be right now, it will be when it gets agreed and approved for publishing. Saving. This is the nerve-wracking bit, because this is the bit where could go all wrong. You might have to do some stuff from scratch and do some tweaking. I've done the trial and error with other books, and I'm hoping this will go very smoothly. So, get a free ISBN number. Now, as I mentioned before, you can use a free KDP ISBN to publish your book. The free ISBN can only be used on KDP for distribution to Amazon and its distribution partners. It cannot be used with another publisher or publishing service. Now, that's what I meant by you can only do it in one way. You could get an outside ISBN. The phrase in there implies to me that you would have to pay to get an ISBN somewhere else, and this is like a free publishing. This is a free self-publishing service. So, you know, your choice. Photo books, real specific here. You do get limited choices. The option I'm about to choose is the option I choose from my paper here, so you know, I think this is quite good. Quality photography. These are the print options that I went with. So we're going to use premium color interior. So you can see if you click through, you get all the different mock-ups of what it would look like. We're going premium because all about the photos. Literally the whole point. No point going through all this work and then getting a rubbish photo at the end. 8.25 by 6. There you go. You see what I mean? Like, you can only see the point of it when you get this far in the process. And personally, I want to create the book and then do the description later, but you can't choose the order in which you do it. You can go back and change other stuff later, but you have to do it in this order the first time. So it's not perfect. You want it to have bleed because you want it for the whole page. That's fine. I want matte because I don't want to change the look of my image. I don't like the shiny. Upload the manuscript. Here we go. And that's going to take a minute to upload and process so we can draft the mock-up. If you're watching this when it's not live and you're walking along and making it with me, then thank you. Thank you for your company. I would love to see the books you made. Link them in the comments, although I don't know if that would get you flagged for spam in some circumstances. God, I really am getting static shots right now. Right, I'm going to replace the image from my computer. Cover photo. On it. Are we on it? Are we on it? Are we on it? I think we might be. It's really working on that. Also, I love that this is its pre-selected options, like the template, and it's got errors everywhere. Like, you see the little orange triangles up here? Errors everywhere. Oh, and I got the random little white line. That is going to annoy me. I'm not going to lie. Can I crop my own image? Can I? I can't crop it. Okay, let's see. 29.43. What happens if I change this to 30? Oh, maybe that fixed it. Oh, this is actually thick enough that it gets its own spine. Don't particularly want the spine, but we'll edit it. There we go. Anton. Got our brand consistency. Get the fonts from my website. Okay, we changed this for my logo. No. Centralize. Just wish I could drag and drop, man. Like, I understand you gotta do it in a certain format, but like, that is a bit gross, let's be fair. This is why they have the option to upload your entire PDF, but I'm not messing about with that so much, to be honest. And then we copy the description that I wrote. It's preview. See, like, if I was an author who would spend years and years and years writing a book, because you know that's how most people spend their first book time. Like, you have however long you want to write your first one, and then you have to do it real quick for the second, you know, stuff like that. If I really cared about it that much, then I would be nitpicking like this, but this is just passive income for a little bit of extra money, for people to get a little bit of extra joy in their lives, have a nice little book to flick through, maybe the kids get inspired because they love sports, it's a nice little present for your kid, all that sort of stuff. It's not my life's work. It's just a little bit of fun, a little bit of excitement. No, this is not AI generated content. I'm not using AI in any form. I'm gonna launch the previewer. Now, I just spent all this time messing about with that, so what I'm doing is I'm gonna save this section, and then before I finish the last section, I'm gonna go back and fix the typo that I found in the description I copy pasted. Because typos are unacceptable to me. That's the one thing. Like, I'm a bit of a grammar Nazi, I can't help it. Checking your fonts. I assure you, my fonts are non-existent for the most part. I'm pretty sure it's just made so, you know, when it's like loading it and, you know, in a video game, it's like, oh yeah, we're just buffering the monkeys or whatever. We're just shaving the monkeys. We're getting XY together. Checking my image quality. You check that image quality. You check it. Do you know the thing though? Like, if something is wrong, then normally like places would tell you that and they flag it to you, but they'll let you submit it anyway. Is the funny thing. Checking the margins and gutter size. I'm guessing the gutter size is like the little fold in between the pages. I'm not claiming to be an expert on publishing. I just know that I have published books and I have sold books, and there. This is what makes me a viable opinion on this subject matter. I have done it, therefore I can tell you about it. Checking your pagination. I have done no pagination. Pagination is something that I use more on websites than I do on books, so there is no pagination for you to check. This tells me that actually you're just processing the file and you want to make your users feel like progress is happening. Maybe you've got AI checking it. It's got nothing to see. Checking for blank pages. It encourages blank pages on me sometimes because it wants to add random pages to make the book binding code. So, you know, whatever, if you say so. We're 2.5 hours into this and we have almost made a revenue generating asset in a single night. Oh, it's doing it. So let me see the preview. Let's do this. Okay. That's my cover. That's my ISBN number stuck on it as well. So we just saw that. And then we go into the book that we made. Now remember, because these files are made in CMYK, it's looking a bit grey, it's looking desaturated, it's looking a bit depressing. That's because it's on a screen right now. Now, when it's actually printed in physical terms, it'll look a bit more vibrant, like the book we saw earlier, which is now under a laptop. Like this thing. It will look colourful like this thing. So we must remember that while we look at it here and not judge too much. Now, what we're checking is for, you see this margin here, this little dotted line, this whatever. If you had written a book, you wanted to make sure that all your text content is inside these dotted lines from your file to avoid any slim possibility of it getting chopped off. You need a little bit. That doesn't inherently mean they're going to cut across these lines. That's not going to happen. But it means anything outside of these lines might get a little smeared, might get a little smudged in the manufacturing process. They've got machines that do prevent that to a degree, but you can't guarantee it. And we're also making sure that there's nothing outside of this hard grid that, you know, highlights the zoom in. No random blank space. That's the main reason any photo book will get rejected, and is the main reason mine have been rejected in the past, and I have to go back and tweak it and try again, is because they have random white space to fill. Now, if you only have a tiny bit and you want to risk it, then sure, risk it, but that is your risk. That is not something I advise. I say quality control is entirely down to the uploader, and Amazon KDP will see the exact same thing. There we go. So I'm going to approve that because I saw no errors, which means I'm getting a little better at this. Fingers crossed it actually goes through first time. I have had to make only one tweak for my last one. I had to make about 1 million tweaks for the first couple. But I feel like I'm getting down to a reasonable amount now. So it will cost me £3.91 to print this book. So if I want to make any kind of profit, I have to sell it for more than that. That is your bare minimum to sell it. You do have an option to sell books for free on a promotional means. For some people, but I don't do that because the whole point of this is making passive income, so we're going to have to make some money from it. I never want to make the price of my book too high so it's inaccessible, but I want to make it slightly higher than people I believe create a lesser products than me, be that less interesting images or less number of images or more restricted type of images in your book, Photobook specifically. And then also, I want to make a little bit of profit, but I feel like a couple quid worth of profit is like reasonable per print. You can make it as high as you want. You can make it, you could sell a book for like £2,000 if someone buys it, then yay you. But it's not realistic for the most part, is it? And you might make more than £2,000 if you sell it at a lower price that more people can access. So, simple supply and demand. How bad does someone want something? Rate £6. This is the royalty rate you'll earn for each sale based on the book's list price. The royalty rate varies based on distribution channel. Most people are selling their books for like $7.99. The minute you get past 10, people start getting questionable. So let's try $9.99. What's my royalty for $9.99? £2.08. Yeah, because printing prices went up. I did this with my last book. I had a book, it was $8.99, but then my royalty would have gone down because the cost of printing went up. Something to do with like ink shortages or something like that. They like made a big announcement, big fuss about it, and everyone had to increase their books, which is why one of my books now is at like £10.41, which is kind of a random number. £10.49. I do hate the little psychology trick of sticking a 9 on it, but you know, I think it actually works. No, that's not even £2.50 royalty. Alright. £11.99. We'll see. If I don't sell a book for like ever, I'll put a sale on, I'll reduce the price, I'll see what happens. See if it's just about the price. Or if it's about the quality of the book and no one can find it. We'll see. I do wish that Amazon KDP gave people more analytics about what's going on, like how many people viewed your book, how many people converted into a buyer, what's your click-through rate, what's your conversion rate. They don't help you with that a lot. Like, let's see. Like, they have reports, but none of their reports are really to do with click-through analytics. It's all to do with, like, how much did you sell? Where did you sell it? All that kind of stuff. It doesn't really tell you how to increase it. Unity, I'm pretty sure, is like helping other authors and stuff. Marketing literally is just their on-platform ad system. If you want to make an ad, you want to make it free, you want to make something like that. Personally, I don't engage in that because this is meant to be a passive thing. It relies purely on platform SEO and a little bit on my own website, because you can link anything on Amazon KDP as an affiliate product on an e-commerce website. So I have my shop page and I embed all my photo books in there. I do need to embed my land adventure one. I'll probably do it at the same time as this one. They say approval can take up to 72 hours, but I actually have had stuff approved in like 10 hours flat, so might be up tomorrow, who knows. Check www.digital.com/shop. Expanded distribution. Large book distributors can make your title available for other online retailers. Enrollment is subject to availability requirements. It's not highlighted for me. Never really paid much attention to that one, but I imagine that it depends if they actually just store copies of your book on stock. If you sell a certain amount over a certain period of time, they will pre-print them in anticipation, but mine's just drop shipped because I've only had a few. So you only have to pay the printing costs on this, but I've got my settings to a point where I trust that it will look how I want it to look. And publish. There we go. My paperback book has been submitted.